Hello and welcome to a special edition of AP News. I'm Morgan.
And I'm Edward.
With the recent president debate, we thought it would only make sense if we have our own little discussion about who won between two candidates.
To present this, we've recruited two members of our community to discuss the debate. Our first insider is Mr. YAEGER.
And our second is the president of ASB, Borrelli.
The moderator for this debate will be Brendan Mitchell, who will be making sure both participants won't get off track and stay within their time limits.
And now we'd like to represent to you the debate.
Hello APA News, I'm Brendan Mitchell, and today we will be discussing/debating who won and what the general outcome was of the presidential debate this Monday night. I have William Borrelli and Justin YAEGER with me, and I'm going to just jump into the first question. Presidential debates are often full of interruptions and tangents that many viewers feel were quite prevalent this time around. Overall, do you believe Lester Holt was able to adequately moderate them?
It's a great question, Brendan. Though I believe a lot of people in my party vilify Lester Holt as being a weaker conservative and even leaning Democrat, though he was actually a registered Republican his whole life. I do think that as a moderator, he did a good job of being impartial, but definitely could have improved in controlling the debate more and allowing each candidate equal time to speak rather than being spoken over by both the candidates at more than one occasion.
Mr. YAEGER? I kind of agree with that. I think in general he did a pretty good job, but I don't necessarily think it's the job of the moderator to always have to jump in. I like that he let them speak. I like that he let them give their points, but I would have liked for them to maybe control it a little bit better when Donald Trump interrupted Hillary Clinton a lot. I thought he could have been a little bit better when the audience kept chiming in, which they said at the beginning they're not allowed to do. I know he did that once, but speak up a little bit, but at the same time, I like that he let them discuss their issues and then ask the question when necessary. Donald Trump went into the debates with his brash, anti-establishment manner. Do you believe he left with a different image? Did he need to?
No, I don't think he left with a different image. I think he continued with his same brash tone. The interruptions, the bullying, the name-calling, that cough, I don't know what that was. I feel like he didn't answer a lot of the questions, and I think that he did need to step it up. I think he did need to come in looking presidential, show that he's not thin-skinned, show that he can answer questions under pressure and address the questions when asked, and not try to put things off on something else and say, oh, it's this, it was this, turn it back on him, answer the questions, and then go back to your opponent and say, oh, I said this, but, do this.
I think I actually agree with you, Mr. YAEGER. Can I call you that? All right.
Sure, well.
I think that he came into this debate definitely, with his usual brash persona, but with the first 10 to 15 minutes, I think he came off as far more presidential than many people on either side expected. And one thing he did come in with that Hillary definitely didn't is a lack of rehearsal, and I think in the time where he remained calm, that actually benefited him more than anything. He came off with a more sincere and genuine tone, which I think was to his benefit. However, after kind of losing it, and after, as you said, he kind of began interrupting, and you call it bullying, but I think that him being strong on things is important, but I do agree that his anger combined with his lack of rehearsal definitely hurt him a little bit, and I think that he still, even with being the way he did, he didn't challenge Hillary on a series of issues that he could have, more like such as Benghazi. And I think that he didn't leave with a different image, but I think he left knowing he needed to portray that image better or in a more factual manner.
I agree. I think that he was really good. Also, like you said, the first 15 or 20 minutes, I think his answers were really good. I think he did come off as presidential, but for me, when he started to interrupt, he needed to come off as, not that being rehearsed was such a good thing, but to be better prepared, I think, is a better way to put it.
Sure.
When he started to talk about why NAFTA was bad, all he says was, oh, it's the worst plan ever. Well, tell us why it's the worst plan ever. What are you going to do as president to make it better, to make some of these ideas that you're saying, how are you going to fix it?
I'm not too sure about what you said about specifically with NAFTA. I think that he provided a series of facts about that, and throughout the debate, that was a pretty big conflict that he brought up, conflict of interest that he brought up on several occasions. But I do agree. I think that with his interruptions and with his, raising his tone a little bit, I don't know if I'd call it yelling as much as you might, but I think that if he came off a little more factual, it could have been done in a better way for his campaign.
Hillary Clinton is often seen as a bit cold and detached when presenting her ideas. Do you believe she was able to properly open up in the debates and appeal to the American people? First, with Mr. Yeager.
No, I don't think she did. I don't think she needs to necessarily change her. I don't know, her, as we say in Yiddish, her verbissene Punum. I think that's just how she is. I think because she's going off the I rehearsed, I was ready, I know the information, I'm ready to be president, and she said that, right? It's not rehearsing, it's being ready to be president.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with you on that one. I think it was pretty rehearsed. You know, you could be
Mr. William, if I may call you, Yeager still speaking.
Thank you. I mean, I'm going to be blamed for it anyway, so
why
might as well
not,
just
right?
let him. No, but I think her big downfall right now is they see her as untrustworthy, and him too. And I think she needs to come off as more trustworthy. And I'm not sure how she can do that other than being more, I don't know, grandmotherly. I don't know how to change that. I think she has to just continue sort of to do what she's doing and be presidential and appeal to people that way and say why he's bad.
Sure, I definitely agree. I think she came off as incredibly cold as usual. And though she was definitely far more prepared than Trump overall, whether that be, with rehearsed lines, but also in simply just facts, I do think that more than anything, she definitely needs to start coming off as a little more involved and a little more genuine in her claims. A lot of things she says definitely come off as rehearsed and definitely feed into the idea that Trump's trying to portray of her being a career politician. And I think that the debate definitely did nothing but maintain the persona that we're used to seeing in Hillary Clinton.
For my next question, who do you believe was able to best communicate their platform to the American people? Your take, Mr. Borrelli?
I think this is definitely a toss-up on both, I believe. Though I think Hillary probably did a little better job of providing a more concrete, substantive, and factual-based platform that she's running. Although, I mean, she's running a pretty stock Democratic campaign similar to what we saw in Obama in 2008. And in that way, I think that her platform is a little more, I don't know what's a word for that. It's expected for a Democratic candidate, whereas Trump definitely sways off the conservative viewpoint. So I think that for him to communicate his whole platform in one nice little tight box that everyone can understand and really get excited about is more difficult. But I think that overall she probably did a better job, not to mention her platform being just a little bit easier to digest.
To you, Mr. Yeager?
I kind of agree with that, but I don't think it's a toss-up. I think she was better. I don't think he's necessarily set aside and told us what his platform is. I think she, with her rehearsal, for lack of a better word, and her liberal ideas, I think that she specifically said it. Like, this is how we're going to bring, the questions were, this is how we're going to bring back jobs. This is what we're going to do to bridge the gap of racial issues in this country.
On that problem, I actually don't agree. I think Trump did a pretty equal job at pointing out specific things he would do for bringing back American companies. And I really think she actually did a lesser job in that specific instance. I don't think that's a pretty strong claim.
I think that she was better at giving her platform, which she's always sort of said, like, it's in my book, it's on my website, and this is what she's doing. And I felt like he's very vague. We're going to bring back jobs because it's China's fault. It's North Korea's fault.
He did mention some specific taxation on goods coming in from American companies, and also different subsidies for companies staying in America to keep them here. And he did say that one of the biggest ways he's going to keep companies from leaving is by keeping them in America.
All right, moving on. I have a question specific to each of our guests today. William Borrelli, what mistakes do you believe Trump committed?
I think his biggest mistake overall, and this is shown a lot in the media, is his lack of preparation. I think preparation and rehearsal are two very different things with debates. Clinton obviously had a good amount of both, but I feel like her large amount of rehearsal helped her come off more as cold, and that definitely hurt her. But I think Trump, he doesn't do as well with specific and rehearsed comments. So on his side, I think more just preparing fact-wise, but not necessarily rehearsal-wise, is going to be much more beneficial, and even his campaign made a couple statements supporting that.
And to you, Mr. Yeager, what mistakes do you think Hillary made?
Nothing. She was perfect. I'm kidding.
argue.
No, I think kind of what Will said, that I think they would say her mistake was she came off as rehearsed. I don't think that's a bad thing, but again, looking back at how she's going to get voters, she needs to come off as more sporadic. Is that the right word?
No.
Yes. No, but just
No.
to kind of seem more genuine, and I think that's her mistake. She definitely came
Sure.
off as presidential, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but I think people are getting sort of tired of the act, and I think at the next debate she needs to be more likable, I guess, and relate better to the
More
bits.
human, less robotic.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, for my final question, I ask you both, who do you believe won the debate?
You know, though obviously I definitely lean a little more conservative, I actually think that the winner isn't too set in stone. I know a lot of polls are actually showing that Trump won, and then a lot of really the public opinion is favoring Clinton. So for me, I actually don't think I've fully decided yet. I think Clinton, they both had their strong points. Clinton obviously a little more factual, and Trump a little more coming off with his genuine persona. So I think that both had some high points.
Mr. Yeager?
I think Hillary Clinton won. I think he won maybe the first 15 minutes, but I think she won. I think she came off again more presidential, what she needed to do. I think he just continued his basic bullying, all the terms that they've said about him ways, and it showed. And I think that you can't win a debate that way. I think if he had better issues and came off as presidential, didn't interrupt and did all that, I think it was he would have come off as the winner because he had more to lose.
Yeah, you did mention that when he was quieter, you thought that he felt that he kind of was winning that part of the debate. I think that's if I would agree. I think that when he was more controlled in his statement, he definitely came off as more presidential, and that combined with his genuine care for the country, I believe, definitely helps him. It's a good mix of being presidential while still maintaining his viewpoint on things. But I am curious to see that you said that you think he cannot win debates in that manner. I think he maintained a pretty similar disposition to many of his previous debates with the 16 plus Republican candidates, and he came off winning several of those debates. So what do you think about that?
I think part of why he won the ones with all of the other candidates is I think the candidates were not so good. And I think that people respond better to, his followers respond to his attitude and his behavior and how he is. And it's funny, for me, like, the part that he won wasn't that I necessarily agreed with his ideas. I don't think his ideas are that great, but I think he won because, we come back to temperament, we haven't mentioned that, is that, he says, oh, temperament's my best quality, which I disagree with, but his temperament was better at that point, and I think that's why he won that beginning, not factual-wise or information-wise.
Well, that concludes our 2016 presidential debate discussion. I'd like to thank Mr. Yeager and William Borrelli for joining us, and also all those watching this week's broadcast. I'm Brendan Mitchell, signing off.
Wow, that was an incredible debate.
It sure was, but now it's your turn to decide. Who do you think won the debate? But more importantly, who do you want to be president? That concludes our show for this week.
Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.